Now the reason they do this dates back actually to the class action lawsuit on Ford and the Pinto, because they want to be able to clearly understand if they have a repeatable problem, they want to know exactly when that part was built, and is there a defect in manufacture, and how long did that defect exist? Was it from the beginning? Was it just a couple of tanks? Was it that week, that month, etc.? So, you know, there's going to be a tremendous amount of detail. More modern cars are like this. This is a seam welded tank, by the way. This is one of the last generations of metal tanks. Most cars now have plastic tanks. It's lighter, it's easier, they're blow molded, they don't leak. This is a seam welded tank. They stamp the lower and the upper. And this flange that you see that goes all the way around, that's perfectly flat and at right angles to everything, kind of like, kind of like it is right here. And there's two wheels that they put the tank in a fixture, and the tank runs around, and the wheels weld this, and they create a continuous seam all the way around the tank. That's what puts the tank together. And it's a neato process. This up here, this is an in-tank fuel pump. So this fuel pump in here, this is the access port for the sending unit and the fuel pump. And then there's a series of lines that come through that are in here. And I don't even know why this one has 4 lines, but this line right here is the high pressure line. This line, I'm gonna look now. This line right here is the return line.
And feed or return.
That's a return.
One goes.
This is
charcoal.
This is your evap line, and I don't know what the 4th line's for. That's this one, which goes up front. It might be a vent line, because the tank is supposed to be closed. That's what it might be. I don't know. Now, when I took this apart, and it's over here somewhere. Actually, there's a couple of them here.
There was a time on
Oh, I wish. Okay, so you can see, and I'll pass this around. Same sort of thing. We've got the size of the line, the part number, and this was made on October 14th, 1994. So there's that much detail on a more modern car, but you see I'm flexing it, and you see what it's doing?
Crackly.
You see that? You can barely read the number.
So is that what was beeping?
No, this wasn't. But the fact that I can do this with this, and it does that, it has to be replaced.
Oh yeah.
Every fuel.
Pretty much. This is another one. This one's so short it just has the part number, doesn't have the date. This one had a small pinhole in it somewhere up in here. I can't see it now. But it was seeping a little bit from there. They're hard, they're not flexible, they've dried out. Not only that, but let's get in here.
Ooh.
What? I'm gonna grab one. I'll grab this one. This one will work.
Oh, you know.
Okay.
There we go.
Now, you know, this is a big change from older cars. You saw how fast I took this line off. This is a fuel line quick connect. In this fuel line on either end, I want to see if they're in here. I threw out the bad ones. At least I thought I did. There's a pair. You can see them down in here. There's a pair of O-rings, and those O-rings can shrink and harden over time, and it will leak. And there was evidence of seepage on, which connection was it? I think it was this, see this one or this one? I forget which one now. I think it was this one, which happens to be the high pressure line. So I fished out the O-rings and replaced them so that there wouldn't be seepage there.
Really?
But this is
change the O-rings.
Pardon?
You just change the O-rings. You don't change the whole line.
You don't have to.
What is? It seemed like a polyester. So it wasn't rubber fuel on it.
That's probably cross-linked polyethylene. It's a hard plastic line. And that still has its integrity, and the connections still have their integrity. So the only thing that really needs to be replaced are the O-rings.
Huh.
Oh, just the O-rings.
It'd
So,
be very expensive to replace it with rubber too.
pardon?
Yes.
If you had to replace this with,
Well, this is a build to fit thing. So you have to replace the things you can. And now I can return it to service, and it's not going to. Hopefully, it's not going to leak.
how much trouble is it to get the O-rings and the right material O-rings?
Well, the correct material, and I threw out the packages, is Viton. And when you get to O-rings, and this, we've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. When you see an O-ring that's black like this, that's a nitrile O-ring, or Buna N was the trade name when I first started in the business. And this is not fuel resistant. This is a first gen. It's what I call a Viton O-ring. It's a fluoropolymer. I forget all the chemical names of it, but it's green. That's a Viton O-ring. These brown ones are Viton O-rings as well. So your greens and your browns. Green is actually a US O-ring. Brown is a Chinese O-ring. So I just went to the auto parts store and I bought 2 kits of universal O-rings, and I got the correct sizes that I need to redo these. But I had to buy multiple sets, and now I've got a bunch of O-rings left over that I'll probably have these. They'll be here when they're cleaning up my shop after I'm gone. But anyway, so
Grant called them already. He claimed them.
dibs. Okay, so and I'm mentioning this because this is a low mileage car. I think it's got like 30,000 miles. And you'd think, wow, 30,000 miles, there's nothing seriously wrong with it. Well, if it's leaking gas from its gas tank, there's something wrong with it, and it needs to be addressed. So that's why it's in here getting its things, and I've replaced this rubber, and I've replaced the O-rings, and it'll go back in tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be good for another 15, 20 years.
Would this have any rubber fuel line hidden in the rails, anything?
No.
Thinking like old Cadillacs diving in and out,
Nope.
metal to rubber.
Nope. It's all metal all the way through on the bottom, and it's all exposed so that it can be serviced.
So would this be an age issue rather than a mileage issue?
Yes, very much so. This is an age issue. This is an environmental issue. Rubber does not last. Elastomers don't last as long in the desert as they do in northern climates. Heat and UV radiation, which is, it bounces, right? So it goes places. Just because you got it in the shade doesn't necessarily mean that you're not being exposed to UV radiation. And it's stronger here because the sun's more vertical. You get up where cars were built, past tense. You don't build cars anymore. Rubber would last forever. You never worried about a rubber part. Unless you got one of those damn California cars with those beautiful bodies, and then you replaced all the rubber because it was all rotted out. But yes, it's very much an age thing. So here's a car that does appear to be too old on first blush. At the same time, it has some issues. Minor issues, nothing serious. This is preventive maintenance more than anything else. Any questions on that?
Are you going to change the soft?
No, I'm not taking this one out because as far as this car runs fine, and there's only a couple ounces of fuel in this thing. It's almost completely empty. So this one is drawing down the way it's supposed to, and I don't want to disturb this seal for fear that it will leak after I put it in, and then I've got another 3.5 hours to drop it. So I'm leaving that be. Any questions on that? I'm going to turn it over to the venerable Tom Luger.
Woo!
And he's going to talk about documentation and how it is your friend.
Teacher Tom.
And thank you, Tom.